Welcome back to Evil's Comics. This guy right here is Evil Mike, or Mike if you prefer, and I got a review for you today. Today we're going to be talking about Boom Studios' Rare Flavours, issue number 2. It is written by Ram V, art and colors by Filipe Andrade, color assistance by Inês Amaro, and letters by AndWorld Design. Before we get started on this review, please like, comment, subscribe on this guy's channel if you already haven't. Hit that like button, comment, the subscription, all of it's free. You might want to hit that notification bell. It'll keep you in tune when I drop videos. I don't have a schedule. Alright, so let's get into it. So, Rare Flavours, right? We got the first issue and pretty much the story set up of what was going on, and I'll give you a rundown real quick. It's basically this guy named Ruben, which we found out is actually like a demon in disguise, like wearing human skin, so per se. His demon's name is Rakshas or Rakash, I don't know, I'll put it here with the, power of editing, right? But we know him by Ruben. And basically, the first issue, he went and hired a film director to partake on this magical documentary that he wants to do about food. And basically, that's kind of the setup. After we got done with the first book, we did see some sinister stuff in the background where our dude Ruben actually ate somebody that they encountered, kind of in the background though. But anyway, so we're starting out with the second issue. In the first issue, there was also like a recipe that you could make that about the food item that the story was about, and this one kind of continues in suit. I will point out that the name of this issue is Marachi, or I think that's how you pronounce it. But they start out in the desert, and they are on the way to a location that Ruben has set forth. We have Mo, I think his name is Mohammed, but Mo for short, the director, and we have a driver of the bus who is taking him to the location. His name is Mancy. Basically, in the beginning of this, it's the same format. It's Ruben, and he's writing this letter to an unknown person, also named Mancy, but basically telling him kind of where they're at the moment, and kind of his lack in the film director that he has acquired. Not so much in his ability to film or document what he did, but it's more about alongside the passion. He needs them on the same level that Ruben is, and he's having that draw and dilemma. We find out a little later what it is, but we get some of what this issue is about. But really, ultimately, it is about this pepper. I'm gonna mispronounce a bunch of these words. I apologize, but I'm putting it right there. But Marachi, I've never heard of that, but it is a supposedly sweet pepper, but it's not one of the hotter peppers. They go into some details about it, but that's where the location that they're going to is to achieve some of these peppers to make this dish. On this other page over here, we get these bounty hunters that we're seeing in the first issue that are, or I want to call them bounty hunters. We don't have an official title on what they are, but that's kind of what they're doing, like hound dogs. But they're basically tracking Ruben, this demon, and they know he's a demon. They know he eats people, kind of thing. And they're trying to stop him from continuing on or doing whatever he plans to do. And they don't know about the whole film a documentary that they're filming, kind of thing. So we go forward, and it's more story that goes into the food that they're about to make, the peppers, how they procure them, how they use them and stuff. Also in the background, there's more about his lack and faith in Mohammed, the director, and kind of him thinking about what he needs to do to kind of change the situation. They do eventually get to a stand-away location where they stop, and they do have a discussion about Mohammed increasing his productivity. Ruben stating that he hired him based on faith, and also that he knew he was a good filmmaker, kind of thing, and for some reason his lack of the project is not there, the passion. We do eventually get to the place where all the peppers are, and it is a magical place. That's why Ruben wanted to bring them here, of course, to film and acquire the food, which they do, and Ruben kind of states that it is a magical experience. We get these bounty hunters that are just kind of casually watching this in the background, really not understanding what's going on, because they got Ruben, the driver, and the director or whatever, and he's like, what are they doing? And he's like, oh man, he's definitely going to eat the filmmaker kind of thing. But eventually nothing sinister happens here. They eventually film everything they need to. They acquire the peppers that Ruben was after, and they leave, and they make campfire close by to where that field was, because it looks like sand and stuff. It's really fields of those peppers. Even when they got there, Mo, he makes this, he says that it burns his face just to be there, and he doesn't understand how Ruben can be there, kind of going into, him and not human, kind of thing. He's a demon. But they do show that they're camped out, close by, and they have a conversation. Eventually, they have some drinks, and Mohammed is like, oh, Mancy, you got to get back to your people, and he kind of walks him off, heading toward the forest after they've had some drinks and stuff. Mohammed takes note of this, and quickly after that, our dude comes back without Mancy, and we know what just happened, that dude ate Mancy or whatever. Mohammed does get, he asks, like, hey, what happened to Mancy? Ruben plays it off like, oh, well, he had to go catch up with his people. It's some celebration going on, and we finally get the recipe of the issue. It is called Lal Mas. I'm probably mispronouncing that as well. Just like previously, it does give you the full description on what goes in the meal. And another thing I love, it goes, bit by bit, and it tells you how to actually, cook the recipe per the ingredients, But eventually, as this goes through, there's not a lot of conversation, because you're supposed to be reading the recipe and maybe replicating it at home. And when they finally get to a resting place, because they get to this part where, it's kind of, it reminds me of a stew, but once the stew gets to a point, there is some conversation. We finally find out what's going on with Muhammad, and it was the whole bit about Ruben knowing about his mom and that film that he filmed when he was a child. And then we find out a little more that, that his mom was super into Muhammad and his filmmaking. Of course, we know that, Muhammad had gone to school and kind of gave that up, and Ruben has recently gotten him back into it because he's paying him. But we found out a lot of that is because of his mom, and, because she passed away due to some illness. Ruben said if they would have had Muhammad said if they would have had the money, they could have fought the illness that she had. It wasn't, it wasn't something that was incurable, but they unfortunately did not have, and she passed away, kind of thing. With that being said, after they share the meal, and the way he explains them tasting the meal, it's glorious, and Ranvi is such a wonderful writer. But basically, the stew is hot, but the spiciness is at the beginning, and once, if you are brave enough to make it past the spice, there is some kind of elegant taste from the stew that takes place after it. And you can see our dude Mo over here, he's braving, to get to that taste and stuff. As this goes on, we get Ruben, and he's like, well, since you were, honest with me and finally telling me why, what's been the dilemma about, your passion with the filmmaking, I'll tell you, and I'll be honest. And he goes forward, and he tells Ruben about he tells Mo about how he is a demon. He tells him his name, the Rakshas, he tells him that he eats people. He tells him back in the day that he not only did this, but he used to have people and servants and bring him mountains of food, and he would eat all of that, including the people that made the food, kind of thing. But it was a known thing. At the end of him, telling the truth and everything, we get the scene over here with Muhammad, like, just laughing his ass off, like, man, you are such a character, but you're an asshole, kind of thing, And eventually, like, Muhammad's like, well, this is funny, I'm gonna go wash up in the bus, and and I'll be right back and stuff. And as this happens, we finally get the bounty hunters, and they approach Ruben. As they approach Ruben, they basically like, you know, hey, the jig is up, we know you're eating people, we're here to stop you, you know, kind of thing. Our dude Ruben does try to talk sense into these guys, like, hey, I'm just making this film, that's all I want to do, kind of thing, but I don't have time for you, I got a schedule, you know. And he kind of goes into this motif after he you know, he gets the sense that they're going to try and capture him. But he does this whole like smoke and powder thing, and he manages to escape, runs back to the bus, hops in the bus, and they end up taking off. And Muhammad's like, "Oh, you driving? Yeah, we're driving. We'll get the hell out of here," you know, kind of thing. So that's kind of where this issue leaves off. We do get a very last page, and it goes back to the future scene with the documentary already being finished. We've already seen where the one scene where Muhammad was, you know, the documentary was about to play. Muhammad was sitting in the front row, and Ruben was not there with the empty chair, kind of thing. So we get another scene like that, and it's basically like that meal being showcased in the documentary, of course, with Muhammad in the front row and Ruben not there, kind of thing. But that's where this issue leaves off. There's no cover, preview, or nothing. The rest of this is just images to other stuff, you know, previews and stuff. But that is my review on Rare Flavours issue number 2. Man, this book is fantastic. The writing, I've kind of it's fantastic the way it's written, because it's written in this love letter sense to Mancy, right? And he's writing about this journey and stuff, and who he's meeting, and his experiences, and what he wants to accomplish during this journal. It's such a fantastic thing to read that part of the story as it's going. But not only that, but the actual like real-time parts that we're getting during the story, you know. That was like when he walked off with Mancy, I knew he was going to eat that dude. And then sure enough, when the bounty hunters did show up, they did mention that to Ruben. I forgot to mention that, but they did mention that to Ruben. Hey, we found that body in the forest over there. He's like, hey, well, I mean, we're all going to do what we're going to do, you know, kind of thing. But man, this book is fantastic. The art, the story, everything, I'm loving it. But what I'm really loving the most is the recipes and how they incorporate it into the story. One of my favorite TV shows or manga has the same kind of concept. It's just an anthology story about a recipe that pertains to a story, and every episode is about a different recipe and a different story, kind of thing. And this kind of does the same thing. It does it in a different fashion. It's not a copy or anything like that. But I love what it's doing, and the fact that you can literally like go out, buy the stuff, you know, for this, and recreate the recipe. I think is fantastic. You know, I'm pretty sure all these would be very heavy Middle Eastern dishes, but I mean, I'm pretty sure there's some people out there that will be brave enough to try this stuff. I mean, I'm hoping one day there will be a dish or something like that will be somewhat easy enough that I could try on my own, you know, just to see, you know, is it an actual recipe, or are they just messing with this? It's Ram V's brilliant, you know, that he just came up with some I don't know, but I want to believe they're real recipes. I mean, it's not just the ingredients, it's the way to prepare the ingredients, and it reads like a real recipe kind of thing. Like they really generally want you to prepare this at home kind of thing and try it yourself. But I am loving this story. It's so fantastic. But my review's already running long. Let me know down below what you thought of this fantastic second issue. Did you like it or you not liking it? You know, let me know all that stuff. Don't be shy. Alright guys, that's all I got for you. I'll let you go. If I don't see you, happy Thanksgiving, because today's Thanksgiving. Alright guys, I'll see you later. Have a good one.